Three powerful voices from the boardroom to the comedy stage and the big screen. We sat down with former NFL Union president turned author DeMaurice Smith, comedian Miss Pat, and actress Amber Rain. Three different paths, three different platforms, three moments of wisdom. He's a new author, but his book isn't just about the NFL. It's about the battle for fairness and protecting players in the NFL. I sat down with DeMaurice Smith to talk about what he thinks the future of football should look like. He's a new author, but he's not a stranger to the spotlight. This is DeMaurice Smith, former NFL PA director, vice president. What was your title?
Executive director.
Executive director. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. So let's talk about the book.
Sure.
What is it? What's the book about? I mean, we know it's about football, but how deep do you go into football?
You know, it's not really a football book.
Okay.
I mean, I loved being the executive director of the NFL Players, and I grew up here, you know, as a huge Washington fan. But when you take that job, you have to love the players more. Mm-hmm. So this is literally a book about the players of the National Football League, their fights for fairness. The job makes me sit across from 31 billionaires and go to war.
Right.
Some great war stories, but at the end of the day, it's a fight for what I think football should be. Mm-hmm. And that is everything that makes a fan love the game, love the players, and that moment where it convenes everybody together.
Right. How difficult was it, though? Because you were there for a long time. How difficult was it?
Some would say too long.
Well, yeah, you could say that. It was a battle. It was a consistent battle trying to protect these players from, in your book, you talked about these billionaire owners.
Yeah. It's a hard job. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. You know, we were talking a little bit offline. I was a homicide prosecutor here in the city for a long time.
Right.
It was much harder than that. Mm-hmm. It's tough. I mean, the owners are charitably a tough group to deal with. And I took the position that the players do all the work, the players take all the risk, and they should earn 50% of all of the revenue that they generate. Mm-hmm. And they should have a safe workplace. And nothing comes without a fight with those guys.
Right. How did you get started in this? Because it's not like I mean, I know you're an attorney,
right?
But how did you get into the NFL?
I literally was on the transition team for then President-elect Obama's Justice Department. I was coming back to be the prosecutor in D.C.,
right?
To be the U.S. attorney. And literally, you know, for all those people out there who talk about careers, I picked up the phone. The phone rang. It was a recruiter, and they said, would you be interested in going into the mix to possibly be the executive director of the NFLPA? And I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Really?
Well, I've never represented players. I wasn't a labor lawyer. I wasn't a antitrust lawyer, which are the two areas of law that govern most of the National Football League. And the person on the other end of the line said something that piqued my interest. He said, the players are heading into a war to save their pensions and literally to save their union. And would you be interested? And I dig fights. And that was the first thing that piqued my interest.
Right. But then you going in, you said you didn't have any experience with this. So what was the learning curve like?
It was marching uphill to Everest with somebody shooting a water hose down on you at the same time. You know, I had a great group of executive committee members, and I really all credit to them.
Right.
I mean, when you think about the people who elected me, who were on the executive committee, Drew Brees, Brian Dawkins, Kevin Mawai, Mike Vrabel, Kevin Carter, Dominique Foxworth, Jeff Saturday. I mean, any number of those guys are headed to the Hall of Fame. And I think I was fortunate because after Gene Upshaw had passed away, they woke up one morning and the person who had run their union for as long as they'd been alive had passed away. Right. And they understood that this existential war was on the forefront with the players. And they realized that this wasn't a time for somebody to sweet talk the owners, that idea that someone's going to come in and magically utter magic words like you're a business person. They understood it was a war, and they wanted to hire a warrior. Right. And I was blessed to work with him.
Right. And then you got him through the lockout in 2011.
2011.
What was that experience like, dealing with a lockout, NFL lockout?
I don't drink nearly as much Maalox anymore as I used to. It was hard. You know, look, the league had $4 billion to lock us out. We had $200 million in the bank. We came up with a interesting secret insurance policy that worked. We convinced a judge to freeze their $4 billion that worked. But it was toe to toe, and something that was defining for me as a lawyer, but also defining for me as a man of color.
Right.
Walking into a room where I'm pretty sure most of the owners never have to deal with somebody like that. You find your footing quickly, because if you don't, they will knock you off your footing.
Right. In your book, you talked about, a lot of people see sports as, it's just entertainment, it's just this and that, it's just something I go to get away from all the things going on in society. But in your book, this is, you said that it isn't a distraction from the country's problems, it's a mirror image of them, economic disparity driven by corporate greed and so on and so on. And then there's some racism in there you talked about. So a lot of people don't understand that part of sports.
Right. Well, and I think when you think about sports, and certainly sports from our youth, right? When we played football, we went into these towns where it was either people who looked like us or people who didn't look like us. But you know what? Everybody's there together for a football game.
Right.
And it's diverse. Everybody's rooting for something that they believe in. They come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So my point there is, instead of us trying to think about sports as something that distracts us from all of those things, the reality of sport is that race, class, economic disparity, the fact that people are working in different jobs, that's what sport is. And the beauty of sport isn't ignoring that. The beauty of sport is that we get to come together for a day that brings all of that together.
Right.
And so look, there is no better example than that than in Washington, D.C. The Washington team was the last team to integrate. And the only reason it integrated wasn't because some owner woke up one morning and decided that he would become, quote unquote, woke.
Right.
No, he woke up one morning and the D.C. Council and the federal government said, if you want to play at RFK Stadium, you can't be a segregationist team. And so literally politics was injected into the sports to fix it, because an owner had decided to inject his own politics in it to not have an integrated team. And to me, the beauty of that isn't that we should just decide that somehow we're going to put blinders on. The beauty of why the Washington team was the Washington team for so long was the fact that I grew up here. And I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, you work in the federal government, or you own a company. There was something magical about going to RFK Stadium as a kid, because everybody was together. And I firmly believe that we were together not to ignore all these things that made us different, but to accept the fact that all of these things made us so different and so wonderful. But on this day, we could all come together and enjoy a great team and love every team in the National Football. Except the Cowboys.
Except the Cowboys.
Except the Cowboys.
Except the Cowboys. Thank you, sir.
What a pleasure.
Appreciate your time.
What a pleasure.
Appreciate your time. Get the book, Turf Wars, The Fight for the Soul of America's Game. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With Miss Pat, nothing is off limits. The star of BET's hit series, The Miss Pat Show, turned her real-life struggles into laugh-out-loud moments. She took a pause from building a television empire on her own terms to share a few moments of wisdom. She is a comic. She does television. She's a judge on TV. She's written books. I mean, you're incredible. You know, you leave no stone unturned when it comes to your career.
Well, not if it's got money in front of that stone.
You are at the MGM at the National Harbor. This is your first time there?
First time there. Nice casino.
Yeah, it's a big place. It's a giant place.
Yeah.
So listen, what can people expect when they come to see you at the MGM and watch your show?
You can expect guaranteed laughter. I mean, I don't make up any stories. I'm gonna take you on a journey I'm working on a new house. I'm gonna take you on this whole new journey about what's been going on in my life. Being married for 32 years, dealing with kids, dealing with grandkids, dealing with people I do and don't like. So just come on out and hear me. I would say vent. I'm going through menopause. That's a new step in my life. I got a broken thermostat. I'm going to talk about everything.
Now, people don't think people like you have broken thermostats.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm a girl.
Why can't you just call somebody and get them to fix your thermostat?
Well, I wish they could fix the thermostat. They ain't going to never cure menopause. Sir, it's called menopause. He literally thinking I'm talking about the air conditioning at the
I
house.
literally think you're talking about your air conditioner.
No, I'm talking about my internal air conditioner in my body.
Know that. See, that's why you're funny.
Only God can fix the air conditioner. And for some reason, it breaks around 45, 50.
Does it ever get repaired?
No, I think we just dry on that. Now, so many middle-aged women at the house throwing stuff at the TV. You talk about yourself, Miss Pat. Stop playing, girl. You know you be drying out too.
All right, Miss Pat of Miss Pat Settles It. So this is a courtroom show.
Yes.
I watched it, and it's actually pretty hilarious.
Thank you.
Because you are the characters of the people that come on there are pretty interesting, and you kind of give them the blues a little bit with whatever drama they bring. First of all, I want to know how you came up with this concept of I'm going to be a judge.
Well, we shot an episode of a judge episode on the Miss Pat show. And so I got with my co-creator and I was like, he started talking like, we should do a judge show. And so I was like, yeah, we was gonna form it around somebody else, and then it didn't work out. So we hooked up with 495 production, and we all three of us created the Miss Pat Settles It. And they was like, you got to be the judge, and I'm like, I'm a convicted felon. They was like, it's TV, and so that's why it's called Miss Pat Settles It. You come in front of me with your problems, and I'm gonna take care of you like a nanny, a black mama, a aunt, whatever, your pastor. I'm gonna give it to you real, and we're gonna laugh about it at the end.
All right. So did you now? This show is pretty successful.
Yes, it is.
And it's hilarious, as like I said. Did you ever think it would get to this level, or did you think I'm just going to throw it out here and see what happens?
Well, I have the Miss Pat show. So when that went we're in our 5th season coming out December 11th. When I pitched it, Miss Pat Settles It 3 years ago, no, I didn't think it was going to work because I've been to jail. and it just took off. People loved it. And we did something different. I literally bring in friends and family who's the jury, and we all make a decision together. You never seen that before.
Right. And again, pretty entertaining. Now, you've been real with your life.
Yes.
You just talked about a convicted felon going to jail. You wrote a book. Some of this is detailed in your book.
Oh, yes. It's Rabbit. It came out with, I think probably 8 years ago, but I still sell it at the show. It's my memoir. I'm working on my second one coming out at probably the middle of next year. So pick up Rabbit and read. If you don't like to read, you can buy the audio and listen to me. I will read it to you slow.
Right, because that's what you did.
Yeah, I read it real slow.
You actually read your own book.
And everybody was like, she read too slow. Well, speed it up. They paid me about an hour. I was not in a rush. I know how to ride the clock.
Right, yeah, just get the money. Get the bag, like the young people say.
Yeah, get the bag.
When they read the book, what do you want people to take away from it? What is the lesson that you want people to take away from reading your book?
Believe in yourself.
Because you've been through some trials and tribulations.
Yes.
You don't have to give them all to me, but give me just a couple of them that you had to overcome. Because you want them to read the book.
I do. I got pregnant by a married man. By the time I was 14, I met him at 12, got pregnant at 14, had the second baby at 15, sold drugs, went to jail, got shot, made a mistake, convicted felon, and now I'm here with y'all today.
Wow. That's quite a journey.
Yes.
How were you able to overcome all that? How did you know to keep going? Because a lot of people, like when they get through the first thing, they stop, or they get through the second thing, they stop, or something else happens. How did you know to keep going and to find your own path?
Well, the first thing is I believed in myself. The second thing is I learned to forgive. You have to forgive. Hurt people. So I had to forgive, my mother, my kids, my first kid's father, everybody who had done me wrong. I had to forgive them so I could live. Because as long as I hated them, and I tell people all the time, when you hate something or somebody, that hate will control you. And at that point in my life, I didn't want anything to control me. So I went and gave it to God. And I said, Lord, I know you're busy, but I'm going to give you this so I can move on. And that's what I did.
And that's what you did. Is that when you became funny?
No, I was already funny. I was always taking trips to the welfare office line, and that's how I became a comedian. My caseworker was like, you shouldn't try to be nothing other than a comedian.
You're going in there telling jokes to your welfare
Worker, so
Yeah.
she could give me
Social
more
worker.
food stamps.
And
yeah.
did it work?
Yeah. Well, no, she was black. She saw clean through the lies, and she told me to go get a job as a comedian.
And you did, and you started. You went and got it. How did you get started with the comedian? With being a
Well,
comic?
she kept telling my caseworker kept telling me I was funny. So after she has kept insisting, I just tried to open mic, and I never stopped. And here I am, over 20-some years. I never stopped doing comedy.
Right. Have you ever been booed on stage?
No, you don't boo me.
Oh,
No,
why?
I mean,
The consequences and repercussions?
well, I've had some bad sets,
Okay.
but like just booed off the stage, thank God. You know, anybody can get booed off the stage. I don't
Right.
want to be booed off the stage,
Right.
but I do fight back.
So it's not a good idea to boo you.
Well, I hope people now
Right.
in my career, you know, I can make you laugh. You pay for the ticket. So I hope you come to enjoy the show
Right.
and not mess with me, because I'm not going to mess with you.
Right.
So I have a whole hour and a half that I want to tell you. So if you sit there and listen, we can laugh together.
Right. And you're going to do a special.
Yes,
Okay,
next
a
year.
comedy
Hopefully
special
top of next year.
All right. So your TV show, not the Miss Pat Settles It show, but the other TV show that
Miss
you
Pat
had.
show.
The Miss Pat show. How did you get into that? The acting part of it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wrote a joke. I said I had a set of Medicaid kids and a set of Blue Cross Blue Shield kids, and I told that story on a podcast. And no lie, I did Mark Maron and Joe Rogan, and Hollywood came running. I just told these stories about living in this very conservative neighborhood in Plainfield, Indiana, and Hollywood came, and they was like, "What else do you have?" And I just kept telling them story after story after story. They was like, "This is a TV show."
And the rest is history?
The 5 season in 3 Emmy nominations.
Wow,
I can't
okay.
thank y'all enough for making this show that nobody, you know, thought would be successful, and a lot of people were scared of. You know, y'all, we knocked it out the park.
5 seasons. That's pretty incredible.
The 5th season will be dropping December the 11th. So let's break the app. I call it Let's Break the App Day.
Okay. Let's break the app.
Yes.
All right. So when you think about how far you've come in your life, the journey, what kind of words of encouragement would you give to other people who are out there going through whatever it is they're going through?
I just say all the time, do not quit. Nobody's gonna believe in you like you believe in yourself. Don't quit. When people think your ideal is crazy and outrageous, that's your ideal. You know what's in your head and you know what you want. Just stick to what you believe in. That's what I always tell people.
All right. Anything else Miss Pat wants to say?
Yeah, just
Wisdom
go to
Martin?
MissPatComedy.com and, you know, get everything you need, any information you want to know about me. It's there on my website. And season 3 of The Court Show is coming out October the 28th. Season 5 of Miss Pat Show, December the 11th. So come on, get your tickets for Saturday so we can laugh.
All right. How do you have time to do all this stuff?
I have a husband that don't work. I'm sorry, my husband is retired from General Motors.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, don't be
You
talking
trying to
about-
throw my man under the bus. Yeah.
I'm too old to have a man that don't work, but my husband is retired.
Okay. So now you have somebody to help you with all these different
With
things.
all of this and
Okay.
everything at the house.
All right. Okay. Miss Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you,
I appreciate
thank you.
Thank you. Ahead of Beauty and Black's season 2 premiere, Amber Rain is talking about her latest movie, Tyler Perry's Joe's College Road Trip. We sat down to talk about how a girl from Atlanta who dreamed of being a model became an actress and how acting has served as a therapeutic release. She also talked about the experience of working with Tyler Perry. First of all, Tyler Perry's Joe's College Road Trip. Tell me all about that and your part in it.
Yeah, so Joe's College Road Trip is all about the journey Joe takes his grandson BJ on to find the perfect school for him, obviously. And they meet me along the way. My character is Destiny, who is an ex-worker, but she's very smart. She is layered, you know, she knows a lot about history. So she kind of bridges the gap between Joe and BJ and gives BJ a little different perspective when it comes to the things that Joe's trying to teach him.
Okay, what is it about that particular role that attracted you to being in that?
Well, first of all, it's Tyler Perry. And Joe, this is Joe's first, hopefully, of many movies. So I was, you know, immediately intrigued by that. And then it's comedy. So I'm really interested in seeing how the fans react to it.
All right. So how did you like working with Tyler Perry? I mean, like you said, I know, you know, it's a job, it's a paycheck. Let's get past that part. But what is it? What are some of the takeaways from working with somebody like Tyler Perry?
Well, Mr. Mary has an insane work ethic,
Mhm.
something I've never seen before. I'm also working with him on Beauty and Black, and we would wrap one day, and he would be off to his production meeting for the next project. So I think work ethic is one of the main things that I've taken away from him, but also how he treats everyone on set. He's really kind and gracious. So those are probably the main ones.
All right, and you just mentioned Beauty and Black season two. You're back for season two, and that's coming out in March. So tell me a little bit about your role in that particular show.
Yes, I play Rain, so I am the protagonist, Kimmy's best friend, and we met, under traumatic circumstances. But now, season two, we got a little money, so Rain was in the hospital the first season, and this season she's out and she's making trouble for herself. I'll say that.
Sounds like a pretty good journey. How'd you get into acting?
Uh, I started taking theater in high school and in college, and I stayed in Atlanta for college because I wanted to be a model. That was like my main thing, and acting kind of was just like the natural progression. I started building my network. I started taking classes, and yeah, the acting bug bit me. I did my first short film about 10 years ago now, and yeah, I just fell in love with the whole process. I'm interested in being both in front of the camera and behind. So
All right, what college and high school did you go to?
I went to Chambly. It's a magnet school, or I was in the magnet program here in Atlanta, and then Georgia State University.
Georgia State, the Panthers. Okay, all right. So what is it about acting that you love so much? I mean, because you've been doing it for a while now. So what is it that's so attractive and so fun for you?
For me, it's very therapeutic. It's you're able to deal with things that you may have had to face for yourself, but in a more safe environment. Like once the camera's cut, you're no longer in that situation. So for me, being able to, deal with emotions and work through situations that I may have related to in real life. That's one of the things that I love. And also playing, like make pretend. Like I get to play for a living.
What about the creative journey? You said that you want to do in front of the camera and behind the camera. So what's next for you, and what will be the next phase in your creative journey?
Absolutely. So I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I am producing a YouTube series for kids. So that's the next thing that I have on my plate for quarter two, most likely. And then I have some friends who are writers, directors, and they have some projects that they want me to help produce. So I'm looking to get, put my producer hat on.
Okay, all right. And now you just said you have a 2-year-old. How is that being a mom of a small child and then still trying to roll through this whole acting thing? How do
Ooh,
you
child.
balance that?
It is definitely a balancing act, and it takes a village. They
Hmm.
they always say that, and it's true. Just having help and not being afraid to ask for help. That's like probably the main thing I've learned as a mother. But it's so much fun. She has so much personality, and she's brilliant. So it's a joy.
I'm sure it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work
Yes, for
as
sure,
well,
for
and
sure.
balancing act. All right. And do you have any other projects other than the YouTube that you're working on? Any other projects that you have coming up?
Well, if I could plug my business, I
Hmm.
have a small business here in Atlanta called Kiki Mats, and we do custom doormat paint parties and events. It's also an event space, so you can rent it out, and it's really dope. It's Atlanta themed, so we have 4 different content rooms, and then we have a huge warehouse where we host events.
All right. So in addition to your acting and being a parent, you got this business going on. How'd you get into this? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I ran across it on social media. I was praying about something that I can invest in that would be fun and wouldn't feel like a job. And I reached out to the owner because this is a franchise. I
Hmm.
reached out to the owner. She's based in Houston, and she was like, "Yeah, like of course. I've done pop up shops in Atlanta. People love it. So yeah, and I wanted to do something different in the city. Like Atlanta, there's a lot of lounges and clubbing and drinking and smoking
Yeah, we
hookah.
know all about that.
So yeah, so I wanted to do something different.
All right, so you got the YouTube, you got your business, you got parenting, and then you're acting. When do you have time for yourself?
Ooh, I gotta make time. It's like I said, it's a balancing act. So, sometimes I have my nanny or my cousin watch my daughter, and I'm like, I need to go get a massage. You know what I mean? So I fit it in.
Right. All right. Last question. Any advice for anybody out there who's aspiring to either be a business owner, to be on YouTube like you, or to be an actress, or to just be successful in general, who may be just starting their journey? Any advice for them?
Yeah, I would say keep going. If you have a vision, see it through. Don't let comparison and, social media discourage you. And also know that anything that's yours is yours. Nobody can take it from you. And just stay faithful.
All right. Amber, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And continued success on all your projects, your movies, TV shows, and production as well. And good luck
Thank
with
you.
parenting as well. I got three kids, so I know the journey and the drama.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Take care of yourself.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. Justice, jokes, and journeys from guests who brought hard humor, hard truths, and their own moments of wisdom. I'm Wisdom Martin, and you can catch me weekday mornings on WUSA 9 Mornings starting at 4:30 a.m.